Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Gig Harbor City Council meeting of Monday, June 13th, 2022. The time is 5:31 p.m. and I will turn it over to our city clerk for a roll call.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilmember Barber.
Here.
Councilmember Denson.
Here.
Councilmember Henderson. Here. Councilmember Likens.
Here.
Councilmember Rodenberg.
Here.
Councilmember Storsett.
Here.
And Councilmember Wook.
Here.
We have all 7 present and accounted for.
Okay, thank you. And now if you would all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Sorry, Josh, I started a little bit ahead of the screen share on the flag. I will now read our land acknowledgement statement. Before we begin this council meeting, we would like to recognize that we are gathered on not only the ancestral and traditional lands of the Squababish Band of the Puyallup Tribe of Indians, but also on the site of one of the largest and longest standing historic villages of the people, the original inhabitants of the Gig Harbor area. Are there any changes to the agenda this evening? Okay, seeing none. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I move to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstain? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, council. And we have a couple of presentations this evening. I am pleased to welcome the Gig Harbor Boat Shop. We have Ciros Welburn here today, and she is going to be giving us the Gig Harbor Boat Shop annual report. She is the Boat Shop's finance director, and welcome. We're happy to have you this evening.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. Let's see.
You should have screen sharing capability. Let us know if you have trouble with that.
Yep, I think that should work. Okay. Yeah, my name's Ciros Welborn. I actually recently started at the boat shop, so I'm going to do my best to give you guys the information needed. And I'm happy to present the 2021 annual report to the City of Gig Harbor for the Gig Harbor Boat Shop. Just quickly, I'll review the mission and vision for the Gig Harbor Boat Shop. Our mission is to perpetuate working waterfront skills, uses, and traditions at the historic Eden Boatyard and aboard classic vessels of Puget Sound. And our vision is to provide authentic portals for maritime experiences that teach the skills, traditions, and self-reliance inherent in the working waterfront. Oops, sorry. Let's see. Sorry about that. We're able to achieve these by offering the community of Gig Harbor and beyond various programs and workshops, as well as volunteer opportunities. Due to the pandemic, most of the programs were either canceled or modified in 2021, but the boat shop was able to come up with some safe and creative ways to stay engaged throughout the year. Tours at the boat shop were offered during part of the year with masks, of course, and done in small groups. Santa's Boat Shop, which is typically an in-person toy boat building workshop, was transformed to a boat in a bag for participants to purchase online and build at home. Doesn't want to change. Let's do it this way, sorry. Thankfully, we're able to use the classic fishing boat Veteran a lot throughout the year. We offer tours of the boat at the farmers market in the summer, and we're very grateful to the City of Gig Harbor for providing moorage at Jerisher's Dock for this. Volunteers continue to offer their time and skills throughout the year to maintain this nearly 100-year-old boat. And holiday light tours on the Veteran was very popular and enjoyed by many during the holiday season. Hundreds of hours of labor has gone into installing the nearly complete marine railways. The addition of these boat carriages will allow for much larger historic vessel restoration and repair, which is greatly needed in the Seattle area in Washington. Thanks again to the City of Gig Harbor, as well as the Port of Tacoma for grants to help pay for this project. Due to COVID restrictions and safety protocol, our program hours and visitor count was down in 2021, but we're happy to say that the numbers are currently on the rise for this year. Volunteer hours only declined slightly. Using safety measures, volunteers were able to engage in outdoor opportunities, including the farmers market, holiday light tours, and then also engaging in small group projects. Thanks to a generous community, the City of Gig Harbor, and extra grants, our income was not severely affected in 2021. And then moving forward, there's a lot to be excited about at the boat shop. We're happy to be able to resume old programs and workshops, as well as establish new ones. Just to name a few, family boat building, it's one of our most popular programs, is almost fully booked for the summer. Groups come in and with the help of trained volunteers, build a boat in just 2 days. Our classic boat rentals just started back up. Boats are now available to rent out on the harbor Thursday through Sunday. We're also offering multiple workshops, including rope splicing, knot bracelet making, family boat building, and more. And in the spring of this year, we launched our Persane crew member training. Participants experience hands-on learning, lectures, safety protocol, that will prepare them for the skills needed to be a commercial fisherman. Tours at the boat shop will soon resume as soon as the construction for the roundabout finishes up. It's all looking very close and very nice. Use of the brick house is currently in the works and will soon be utilized by the community. Thank you all for your time and for supporting the Gig Harbor Boat Shop.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions from council? Any comments? I see silent clapping. Yes, Councilmember Wook.
Yes, I just wanted to say thank you. The boat shop, this was a good presentation and up to date. And the boat shop is an important part of the history of this community. And I know how much our citizens love it. And I know how much our tourists enjoy when they come to town and get to visit what a working boat shop was and is actually. So it's pretty exciting to see it come along, and we're looking forward to good things in the future. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited to have people coming back in and engaging. Thank you.
Councilmember Denson.
Yes, I will echo what Jenny said, Ms. Wellborn. Welcome aboard. It's a great organization. I was excited to hear that the marine rails are close to completion because that was a really significant investment that the city made last year, and council fought really hard for that. So I would love it if you could let us know when that's done and when you are bringing boats in to be restored and repaired. We are really, really excited about bringing that component to your organization.
Yeah, definitely. We'll keep you guys updated on that. And from what I'm hearing, it's very close. We're kind of in the permit works and just, yeah, it's going to happen soon. So thank you.
Councilmember Rundberg.
Too late to lower my hand. Those are my questions exactly. So we really don't have a estimated date that will be completed.
As far as the labor goes, they're I can almost say finished with that part of it. It's now just in the permit stages. And I know our board member, John McMillan, is currently working on getting all that finished up.
And permits from whom and for what?
That's a great question. I don't have the answer to that, but I will get it to you for sure.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Yeah, I know my nephews did the little boat in a bag and they
Good.
loved it. And I have to say, you guys, along with so many of our businesses and nonprofits, were so creative during COVID in coming up with ways to interact with our community while we were shut down and still feel like we were all a part of what you were doing and you were a part of what we were doing. And it was just really neat to see. So
Oh, thank you.
again
I'll
for-
definitely relay that too to everyone. Thanks.
Yeah, please do. Please do. Thanks again so much for being here. And we
Great.
just hope you enjoy your evening.
Thank you. You too. Thanks a
Say
lot.
hi to everyone at the boat shop for us.
I will.
We'll be down soon to visit.
All right. Bye.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Our next presentation this evening comes from our Fire Chief, Dennis Stone, and this is for the Pierce County Fire Protection District number 5, aka Gig Harbor Fire and Medic 1, proposition number 1. So he's going to give us an update on the fire bond. And you are still on mute, Chief.
How about my screen? Can you see the bond update?
We can.
Okay, great. I finally figured out technology. Well, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to come before you again. Thank you for our partnership. We've done the best job we can to try to get the word out about our capital facilities plan and where we've been headed. Trying to get public input on that capital facilities plan, and I've shared that with you in the past, and then also our recommendation that to how we're going to fund that plan. I came before you a few weeks ago to go through really all of our services, but tonight I'll keep it short and just focus on the bond proposal that we'll have on Proposition 1 on August 2nd. I said I could figure out technology and now I can't advance my slide. There we go. We completed a complete capital facilities plan and I mailed that out emailed it out to all of you. And we identified a lot of issues. Our stations were built 30 to 40 years ago. They're not designed they were designed for an all-male workforce. And we just don't have the facilities for a more diversified and growing workforce. They don't meet ADA requirements or seismic standards. They lack security systems, and frankly, they just don't meet our needs right now as a growing department. To fund our capital facilities plan, our commissioners have decided to go out to a bond this August 2nd. At a high level, some of our project priorities are Station 51 on Kimball, Station 53 at Fox Island, Station 57 at Crescent Valley, Station 58 right here by our headquarters on Busage, and Station 59 in Artendale, and also our training facility. Currently, our training, we have to send firefighters out of the area to be trained. We have to do it off duty. We have to pay overtime. This is really a big need that we have here in Gig Harbor to train our current firefighters and our recruit academy. When we hire firefighters, we have to send them away to other fire departments to be trained and to try to coordinate that and be allowed into other fire departments. So recruit academies is very difficult. We need to have live fire training for all of our firefighters. You know, cancer is known to be the leading cause of death for firefighters, and we need a place to decontaminate that soot after a structure fire. We come back covered in carcinogens, frankly, and we don't want to bring that into our station or into our homes where we live a third of the time. So we need to create areas where we can decontaminate our firefighters after calls, and then also after medical calls from bloodborne pathogens. And all of these stations will be retrofitted to do that and protect our firefighters so that they can protect themselves and they don't take that home to their family. We've talked about this already, the live fire training. We don't have any way to do that regular live fire training. You know, our firefighters are the ones that respond to the calls, but to help them, they need the proper facilities and apparatus to do that. As you know, not only Gig Harbor City, but the entire community has grown 16% since 2010, and our call volumes have grown 42% during that time. This is a picture of the rendition of our training facility that will be right here next to headquarters on Busich behind Station 58. It's a 5-story building that we can practice live fire, and it's built to have all the scenarios that we would have within our community. Each floor will be just a little bit different. The bottom floor is like a garage in a house, and each floor will be just a little bit different, maybe an apartment, a house, a commercial building, and we'll be able to train right here in Gig Harbor. So this is a 20-year bond. It'll be $80 million. It's projected to cost 24 cents per 1,000 of assessed value, which is about for a $500,000 home, about $9.90 a month, or $118 a year. I've kept this at a really high level. I've talked to you before about this, but I just wanted to provide you a quick high-level overview of where we're headed, the projects that we're doing, and thank you for your support of Gig Harbor Fire, and then answer any specific questions that you may have about the projects or the costs or anything else. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you so much, Chief Dunn. We really appreciate you being here to let us know what's coming up. And let's see, Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Chief Jones, thank you very much. That was an excellent presentation. I'm glad you guys are starting to plan for the future. A couple questions. Your Station 51 on Kimball, you're talking about a full replacement. It's a pretty substantial project. How would you cover the area that 51 now covers during the construction? Because my suspicion is you're going to have to tear the whole thing down. So that's the first question. Second one is, that's a pretty awesome firefighting training facility, which is for buildings. Could you maybe briefly explain how your firefighters get training for like wildfires, brush fires, tree fires, things like that? Thanks.
Yeah, so with Station 51, yes, we will be tearing it down. And so the firefighters will have to move, and we'll move our resources around to the other stations. One of the stations to make sure that our city is still protected is Station 57 in Crescent Valley. So we will be moving some firefighters to Station 57 when Station 51 is being constructed. So to make sure that we have good response time within the city limits. While other stations are being torn down, or while we're remodeling them, we also move some firefighters to Fox Island to Station 53. That's one of the areas that we need to increase our service is Fox Island. And through this bond, we'll be able to move some of our resources out there, and Fox Island's service will be increased. As when it comes to wildland firefighter training, we have a very robust wildland firefighting training here in Gig Harbor. In fact, we lead Pierce County in that. Just today, we had about 20 firefighters here at Gig Harbor talking about our upcoming deployments, not only our overhead team. So overhead team is the incident management team, how we run the fires, but also every single one of our firefighters in Gig Harbor are what we call red card certified, and we go through what's called NWCG, that's the National Wildland Program, and we train with all of our partners with Wildland. So like I said, we lead the way. We have sawyers, we have strike team leaders, and we deploy around the West, actually, right here from Gig Harbor.
Cool.
Thank you. Councilmember Rodenberg.
Yes, thank you, Chief. I do have a couple questions. First of all, I certainly support this 100%. Nothing can deter my support, but I have two questions. One is the building that is going to be the live fire training facility. Are we going to be able to maybe rent that to other agencies to come and train their people and maybe offset some of the ongoing cost?
Yes and no. So we trade a lot with a lot of the fire departments in Pierce County, and I don't know if it'll be really charging them per se, but maybe another fire department has a prop or or something that we can share resources with. So I don't know if it'll be a money-making opportunity per se,
Sure.
but we will be able to share with other departments. We have been having a talk with other departments in Pierce County and creating what's called a training consortium, where we can pool our resources together and share resources better when it comes to training. So we are just in the initial talks of what that would look like. South King County has a training consortium like that, and we are evaluating that. We also think there's opportunities with Kitsap County. They've created a training consortium. So how can we leverage what each of us have to train together? So I don't know if we'll actually rent it out or it'll be a money-making thing. This will be built to make sure that our current firefighters have a place to train, and our recruit academy has a place to go.
Yeah, well, I would certainly not think that it would be a money-making thing, but as long as we use it and leverage it, as you said, to benefit us and other agencies. The other question is, the site that is going to be built, is that currently a treed lot and the trees will have to be cut down, clear cut in order to build it? Or is that an empty lot as it stands now?
About half and half. So we have a current training facility behind our headquarters and right out my window here. And we have a road network system that's already been built there with retention ponds. And we already do training there. Where the building will go, there will have to be some trees. So it's not a clear cut by any means, but it's also there where the training tower goes, there are some trees there that will need to be removed.
Okay. Thank you again, and certainly all my support.
Thank you, sir.
Any other questions from council? Okay, seeing none, thank you so much, Chief Doan, for being here with us tonight and for your presentation. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, clapping, clapping. You'll hear my clapping. Pretty soon we'll be back in person. One of these days, and then you will hear actual clapping. Okay, so we will move on to the mayor's report. I just wanted to, I don't have specific staff shout outs. There are so many that it would take us forever we would be sitting here for an hour and a half for me to tell you all of the different individual things that people are doing really well around here. So I'm going to just give a general all staff shout out. They are just phenomenal. They're handling so many things, every department, just so well and so professionally. And I just am so grateful to them for they're just awesome. I don't even have another word for it. So I am doing an all staff shout out tonight. Also, you'll be seeing some minor pavement repairs happening around town here and there. So no cause for worries when you see that. It's part of our annual pavement maintenance. So I wanted to let the public know about that. We are also gearing up for our summer sounds and movies in the park. I cannot wait. It is coming soon. The schedule is available at visitgigharborwa.com. So just go onto our tourism website and you'll find all the information about what's happening this summer. And it'll have the concert lineup, the movie lineup, and it's going to be a really, really fun summer. So that's it for my report. And I will turn it over to our interim city administrator, Katrina Knudsen.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, Council. Just two quick things this evening. The Pierce County Elections Department has contacted the city and is requesting that we let them install a permanent ballot drop box here at the Civic Center near to where our utility drop box is. I wanted to notify Council of that, and I'm seeing shakes, nods of heads north and south. So if that is acceptable to Council, there is a contract that we will bring back for Council signature, but that would be a permanent drop box here at the Civic Center for ballots taking place of the one at the current fire station on Kimball. So 2 drop boxes within Gig Harbor would be here at the Civic Center and then at the library.
And this would take effect next year, next November.
Thank you, Mayor. I forgot to mention, yes, not this year, but it'd be next November. This would take effect. And then lastly, I wanted to let council know that there are some reclassification requests that we will be bunching together and bringing forward for you on July 11th. And this has to do with items that the council approved in the budget last year, but have been waiting to bring forward. So thank you to Director Langhelm and Stacy Kohlberg for waiting specifically for those positions. And we anticipate bringing them forward to bunch together in support of council's strategic goal number 1, which is staffing accordingly for the city. So look forward to that on July 11th. Thank you.
Thank you. I will now open up the public comment period for non-agenda items, and you will have 3 minutes to speak. And once we call you over from the attendees section, we will start the timer, and please state your name and address for the record. Josh, first of all, did we receive any written comments this evening?
We have no written comments for non-agenda items.
Okay. All right, and I see one in the attendees section ending in 874.
Easy, Mayor Merkley, can you hear me okay?
Can't hear you too well.
A little better?
That's a little better.
Okay.
That's much better.
So this is Tom. Is that better? Okay, good.
Yes.
This is Thomas Wick, and I'm at Hunt Street Northwest here in Gig Harbor. A couple of issues this evening. As you know, at the last city council meeting, I requested that, I believe it was Ms. Knudsen, I never heard from her regarding the request for public records dated September 25th, 2020. Again, I want to emphasize that's 2020. And Mr. Piasecki did send me a check for the $300 that I did send the city. However, I haven't cashed that, so technically the city still has $300 to pay for that, the completion of that request for public records, and I've been waiting on that patiently. And again, as I said repeatedly, because the city passed Ordinance 1465, I believe that was a unanimous vote of the council at the time, that basically, I'm kind of summarizing it, that if it was deemed, any public records request were deemed, overly broad or burdensome, which is kind of a subjective, my perspective, or if it's a fishing expedition, it just kind of gets put to the back of the line, doesn't get processed. So I'd really appreciate it if the mayor and the council could make sure that that is a state law. So I don't think it's an unreasonable request that those records be provided immediately. The other concern is the Pierce County Regional Council. I actually reached out to Pierce County Council and had requested that they put an issue, a regional issue involved with Pierce County on the agenda, and it's not there. I know the city of Gig Harbor is a member of the Pierce County Regional Council. I was hoping that the members would make sure that that happens before the 16th. And that's pretty much it for this evening. I thank you for allowing me to speak this evening.
So sorry, Mr. Wick, I think we're losing your connection.
Oh, I just wanted to say thank you for allowing me to speak this evening.
You're very welcome. Thank you. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak? And you can press, I always forget, Josh, is it *9 to raise your hand?
*9, yes.
*9 to raise your hand, and then *6 to unmute yourself. Okay, I am seeing none, so I will close the public comment. Thank you so much for those that did provide public comment. We really appreciate you taking the time to come before us and let us know your questions and concerns. And we will move on to new business. Item number 1, which is Resolution 1250, expressing support for Pierce County Fire Protection District number 5, Proposition number 1, titled Bonds for Fire Station and Training Facility. And the suggested motion is to move to approve Resolution 1250. And this report will be given by our interim city administrator, Katrina Knudsen.
Thank you, Mayor. Good evening, council. Chief Doan did a wonderful presentation earlier today at this meeting regarding the proposition number 1 for bonds for fire station and training facilities. This resolution would be an expression of city support if passed to support proposition number 1. We will have public comment on this resolution this evening pursuant to RCW 4217A 555, where the city council will take public testimony, allowing equal opportunity for the expression of viewpoints supporting and opposing this measure prior to taking action on resolution 1250. And with that, that concludes the initial remarks, Mayor, and I recommend that you request any public comment prior to council deliberation. Thank you.
Yes. Would you like me to, should I do public comment ahead of clarifying questions? Are there any specific clarifying questions that council has? Okay, seeing none, I will open the public hearing. And I see one hand raised, Bryce Nelson. And you'll have 3 minutes. And I know I just said your name, but if you could state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Sure. My name is Bryce Nelson. Can you hear me okay?
I can, thank you.
And I am not a city resident, but I'm an Ardendale resident, 3024 79th Avenue Court Northwest. I'm also one of the 5 elected fire commissioners for Gig Harbor Fire and Medic 1. And I just wanted to urge the council to support this resolution that is in support of the bond that is on the ballot in August. So I appreciate the mayor and council allowing me the opportunity to speak. I won't belabor it. I don't have much else to say, and I'd urge you to vote yes on this resolution. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Josh, I forgot to ask you, were there any written comments submitted for this agenda item?
No, there are no written comments for this item.
Okay. I will again turn to those in the attendees section. Anyone have any other public comments to provide for this evening on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment. And are there any other questions or comments from council? Yes, Councilmember Wook.
Yes, thank you so much, Mayor. You know, our citizens are lucky because we have a wonderful fire department who get to them when they need them the most. And we need these firefighters to be trained. And we also need them to be safe. So I certainly look forward to supporting this bond with my vote when it comes up later this evening. And thanks to the chief for his presentation this evening. It was informative and it's certainly something that our community needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Likens.
Yes, I echo also what Councilmember Wook says, and I think that we need to support our firefighters with this resolution. So that being said, I'd like to move to approve Resolution 1250.
Second.
Thank you. Councilmember Denson.
Yes, I certainly agree with Councilmember Wook and Likens. And I just wanted to add something that I learned. The last time this fire department passed a bond was back in 1984, which is 38 years ago. So they have really proven themselves to be not only responsible, but pretty darn frugal. And we know that they have an excellent reputation. They are trustworthy, and I trust them to be good stewards of the public's money with this capital facilities bond as well. So thank you.
Thank you. Seeing no other hands raised at this time, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor to approve resolution 1250, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Any abstain? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, council. And we will move right along to new business item number 2. This is a public hearing on resolution 1249, adopting the 2023 to 2028 6-year transportation improvement program. And the suggested motion is moved to approve resolution 1249. This report comes from our interim city engineer, Aaron Holst.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Tonight before you is the proposed 2023 to 2028 TIP in accordance with RCW 357710. Local agencies must annually prepare and adopt a comprehensive transportation program for the ensuing 6 calendar years that's consistent with the agency's transportation comprehensive plan. This is commonly referred to as a 6-year transportation improvement program, or the TIP, and is required to be submitted annually to the State Secretary of Transportation. The basis of the attached 2023 to 2028 6-year TIP are the 2018 comp plan, the 2022 TIP, the 2022 budget, and a recent May 12, 2022 council study session. Included in your packet tonight is a copy of the SEPA addendum that was processed for the 2023 TIP. A TIP map is also included as part of your council packets. This map identifies the locations of the projects that are proposed on the TIP. You also see a report as part of your council packets. This report is in a format that's accepted by the state that includes detailed analysis for each TIP project. The analysis projects which year each phase of the TIP project is expected to take place while describing funding also. The report details whether funds are planned or secured and speaks to whether funds are projected to be local, federal grants, state grants, or a combination of funding sources. Changes from last year's TIP are identified in red on the 2022 to 2023 TIP comparison spreadsheet that's part of your council packets. And I'll kind of go over some of those changes right now. They are as follows. Previous projects 1, 2, and 3 are removed because they're either complete or projected to be complete prior to 2023. The word study was added to project number 2 as we need to collect more traffic data to support the design. A new project, Peacock Hill Avenue Half Street Improvements, was added to the TIP as a new project, and that's project number 15. And lastly, the project numbering was shifted accordingly based on the above mentioned changes. And that is all I had for my presentation tonight, and I'm available for questions.
Great, thank you, Aaron. Councilmember Rodenberg.
Yeah, I just want to remind council that this particular thing is only a plan. It's a 6-year plan. And like Aaron, Senior Engineer Aaron Hurst said, this is not anything cast in concrete, and it's the only way that we can get certain grants is to approve this. I do not believe, it's my understanding, this is not the time to debate what other things should be on this plan or what should come off of the plan. I think it's in a matter of expediency. I don't think we should go down that road. The city and staff has spent a long time putting this together, so I think this is a simple thing to approve and not take up a lot of our time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Aaron. Want to thank you and Director Langhelm for adding the Peacock Hill Sidewalk project. I know that was a kind of a request of the City Council, and I appreciate you responding to that. I had a great time looking through the TIP, and there's a lot of neat projects on there, including the phase 5 of the Christian Trail. Let's hope we can get that moving sometime soon. That would be an excellent thing for the citizens of Gig Harbor, extend that path. So very nice job. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other clarifying questions from council? Okay. At this time, I will now open the public hearing. Josh, were there any written comments received?
No written comments for this item.
Okay. All right. Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to speak on this agenda item? And you can press *9 to raise your hand. Okay, I'm seeing none, so I will close the public hearing. Any other council questions or deliberation? Okay, I'm seeing no questions. Any deliberation or action by council on this agenda item? Councilmember Barber.
I move to approve resolution 1249.
Second.
Okay, great. We have a motion and a second. All those in favor of adopting resolution 1249, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, motion passes 7-0. Thank you, council. All right, moving right along to new business item number 3. This is ordinance 1488 relating to fireworks sale and discharge regulations, amending chapter 8.20 of the Gig Harbor Municipal Code for fireworks. The suggested motion, there is no suggested motion. This will return for a second reading on June 27th. And this report will be our building official and fire marshal, Paul Rice. Hi,
Good evening,
Paul.
Mayor. Hi. Good evening, Mayor and Council. In October, a little bit of background, in October of 2021, the Council's Finance and Safety Committee provided direction to staff to research the feasibility, process, and procedures of amending Chapter 8.20 fireworks of the Gig Harbor Municipal Code. These findings were brought to the Council's study session on March 31st of 2022, and then again to the Council study session on May 26th of this year. It was during this latter meeting that staff was directed to draft an ordinance that would amend Chapter 8.20 fireworks. The ordinance before you this evening relates to the sale and discharge of fireworks within the city limits of Gig Harbor. It amends Chapter 8.20, effectively banning the sale and discharge of fireworks within the city limits. It establishes an effective date, which per state law would be 12 months after passage, which if passed at the second reading, would make it effective for the 2023 July 4th holiday. Before we go to the public comment portion of the process, I'd be more than happy to answer any clarifying questions that you may have at this time.
Great, thank you, Paul. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Paul, thanks. That was a nicely written resolution. I had one question and probably my lack of understanding of the RCW. Is there a pretty firm or clear definition on what a firework is? Assuming this gets passed, our Gig Harbor Police Department is going to have to enforce it. Is it clear enough what is classed as a firework? I mean, bottle rockets clearly, but would sparklers be classed as that? I'm sure there's a definition somewhere.
There are, and actually within our actual municipal code, see if I can pull up right. Actually, I think it's a part of this process, 820.020 applicability. It says the provisions of this chapter shall apply to the sale of all safe and sane fireworks as defined in chapter 228, laws of 1961. So it goes back quite a ways, the state of Washington, except the sales of toy caps and sparklers. So sparklers and cap guns are pretty much exempt, but everything else falls under the category of fireworks.
Okay, clear enough then. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other clarifying questions from council? Okay, seeing none, I will open up the public comment. Josh, were there written comments submitted for this item?
Yes, we have several written comments that I will read through now.
Okay.
First one is from Tony Panagiotou at 1435th Avenue Court Northwest. He writes, I want to protect my home and my family against wildfires. I support an ordinance banning the public sale and use of fireworks within Gig Harbor. I've changed my position on this over the years as the use of the more powerful legal and illegal fireworks has grown. I have seen the damage these devices do to property and pets. There are many other ways that nonprofits can raise money that does less ancillary harm. Thank you for your consideration. The next comment is from Howard Kushner at 4426 34th Avenue Court. There is no question that fireworks represent a real risk in this community, which is heavily wooded and experiencing hotter and drier summers. My community is especially at risk because we have a large number of very tall pine trees and fir trees. Our community also has one main road, steep hills, and many dead-end cul-de-sacs. As we discussed in a recent Pierce County Firewise webinar, we are the perfect storm environment for rapid fire spread and poor egress for those living down these streets. I've witnessed firsthand the reckless behavior of some neighbors firing these incendiary devices into the treetops. As temperatures become hotter and drier, it is not a matter of if a fireworks-induced fire will start, it is only a matter of when and how many people will be killed and homes burned. I recently spoke with friends from Stillicum, Washington, and was told they have had a fireworks ban there for many years. For the safety of our families, friends, neighbors, and homes, as well as the preservation of this beautiful and unique community, we should pass a fireworks ban here. Thank you. Next comment is from Wendy Kushner at 4426 34th Avenue Court. At our annual HOA meeting, one of my neighbors mentioned that the neighborhood adjacent to ours was setting off fireworks all evening long on July 4th last year into the heavily wooded 5-acre forest that our community owns and which separates our two communities. They said there was so much smoke from these fireworks that they could not even see the trees in the forest. People in my neighborhood may have thought their use of fireworks was innocent and could do no harm to their own property, but their reckless use of fireworks put my neighborhood at risk of burning. It's not just the user that takes the risk in using fireworks. Using fireworks is a threat to all of us. As the weather continues to get more hot and dry, fireworks pose an ever-increasing threat to the people and property in Gig Harbor. A ban on fireworks is the only solution to preventing a fireworks-induced fire. I support a ban on fireworks in Gig Harbor. Thank you. Next comment is from Dave Arterburn at 4425 34th Avenue Court. Human-started fires account for 84% of all wildfires, tripled the length of the fire season, dominated an area 7 times greater than that affected by lightning fires, and were responsible for nearly half of all area burned. National and regional policy efforts to mitigate wildfire-related hazards would benefit from focusing on reducing the human expansion of the fire niche. Banning the public sale and use of fireworks would do just that by literally taking the lit match out of people's hands. Humans have vastly expanded the spatial and seasonal fire niche by accounting for 44% of the total area burned. During a 21-year time period, the human-caused fire season was 3 times longer than the lightning-caused fire season, and that at an average of 40,000 wildfires per year across the US. Human-started wildfires disproportionately occurred where fuel moisture was higher than lightning-started fires, thereby helping expand the geographic and seasonal niche of wildfire. As our summers here in Gig Harbor not only get hotter and drier, the danger only increases. Do we really want Gig Harbor to be the next fire statistic, a news story? There was also a notable mark of American culture on the distribution of wildfires, with the peak of wildfires occurring on July 4th, concurrent with holiday fireworks displays. Indeed, Americans start over twice as many wildfires on July 4th as any other summer day. The National Fire Protection Agency reports some 19,500 fires were caused by the use of fireworks in 2018. Fireworks also create a highly toxic gases and fine particulate matter pollutants that poison the air, water, and soil, making them toxic to birds, wildlife, pests, livestock, and people. We know fireworks are dangerous, but most people are completely unaware of the more insidious environmental damages and health impacts caused by fireworks. Pollutants released by fireworks travel far from their origin. Studies reveal that tagged heavy metals used in fireworks have traveled some 62 miles downwind over a 2-day period. These metals also end up and linger in our trees and other vegetation. When they are washed out of the air by rainfall, they end up polluting our watersheds and soils. These highly toxic materials are resistant to degrading and remain in the environment for very long periods of time. Wildlife, our pets, and yes, our children can be exposed to these toxins long after the holiday celebrations are over. Even trace amounts of exposure are harmful. Do we really want this to continue? I urge you to vote yes on banning fireworks in Gig Harbor. Thank you. Next comment is from Wes Friedman at 4425 34th Avenue Court. So you've been presented with statistics and facts about the use of fireworks and just how dangerous and destructive they can be. Opponents to ban never argue that fireworks are not explosives because they are. They never argue that fireworks are not dangerous or potentially destructive because they are. They never argue that fireworks cannot or have not started a wildfire, house fire, injured someone, or have never caused a death. Why? Because these are facts that cannot be disputed. Fireworks have and can do these things. Opponents cannot dispute reports on the destruction that fireworks have caused or the statistics that present the number of fires and injuries caused by fireworks within a given year. Instead, they will use terms like personal freedoms, patriotism, or even argue that you cannot enforce a ban, so why bother? All of these are red herrings and designed to distract from the facts that fireworks are dangerous and destructive. These words deflect the facts and do nothing to prevent the destruction that fireworks do to property, the environment, wildlife, pets, and the trauma they cause to those with PTSD. These words do nothing to make fireworks safe to use. Some will say that passing a ban is a slippery slope. Do this and they will take away our what? You fill in the blank. That is just another distraction. There's absolutely no intent whatsoever to take away people's freedoms. Some will argue that it's really not the firework that started the wildfire. It's an irresponsible person who did that. Really? The fact of the matter is, if you take away the fireworks, you literally take away the fire. Before you take a vote on the issue, ask yourself this: what is it that you, or should I say we, truly value? Do we value giving a small group the right to play with explosives at the peril of many others? Even if it's just for one day, it still puts not only their lives in danger, but also the lives of and communities of many as well. Or do we value protecting our lives, our children, our property, our communities, wildlife, pets, and those who suffer from PTSD? Do we choose to value all of these? That's the choice. What small sacrifice can we take to value our city and preserve a healthier, safer neighborhood, city, and state for tomorrow? We cannot afford to make excuses. Fireworks are dangerous explosives. Therefore, I urge you to please take this small sacrifice and vote yes on this ban ordinance and make Gig Harbor a more welcoming, safer place to live. Thank you. The next comment is from B. Mazai Rhodes at 5415 36th Avenue, number C203. I would like to discuss the risks and sale of fireworks. This is only one reason for banning personal sale and use of fireworks in Gig Harbor: public safety. Strictly speaking, banning their use is literally a way to prevent potential for wildfires. A ban will prevent our homes from catching fire from a stray or misguided firework, and will, most importantly, a ban will prevent injury to the users. Yes, these things may be rare, but ask yourself, are you willing to take the risk? Sure, some say that it's my personal freedom and taking on risk is my own choice. Well said, but there are no guarantees that risk won't be shared by others. Even if a fire is sparked on your own property and only your home, trees burn down, we are all adversely impacted by that one personal act. That burnt lot affects the value of the neighborhood at large. The costs of putting out that fire impact city revenues and budgets. Your lost home to fire could impact the insurance of others in the neighborhood. And while firefighters are trained to rush into the fire, your one act puts their lives at risk. That risk may be an individual's to take, but when others are put in harm's way, that risk is shared by everyone. Innocent people are put at risk. A wildfire could be started by a firework miles away from your home, but that fire could easily spread for miles, burning down acres of land and many, many homes in its path. Not everyone will like the idea of banning the public sale and use of fireworks in Gig Harbor, but the number of users is small compared to those who are put at risk. You don't need to touch a firework to lose your house to one. Those who fundraise off their sale will be hit hard. That is understandable. But those sponsoring these fundraisers are literally selling explosives to the public. Dangerous, hazardous explosives. The largest seller of fireworks is a supplier named TNT. While that name may be just a marketing tool, those three letters denote only one thing, namely highly explosive materials. So it's time to ask yourself this: is the price of band uniforms worth the cost of a wildfire that was started by a fireworks? Is the price of sending a high school class on a trip to DC worth someone in the hospital after blowing off several fingers when a firework misfired? What about a home burning to the ground after a misguided firework entered the attic and catches a neighbor's home on fire? Is that loss worth the money that was collected at a fundraiser? If you are able to continue allowing fundraisers to cash in by selling fireworks, there will always be risks. I ask you, please do the right thing and ban fireworks in Gig Harbor. Thank you. And then our last comment is from Abby Landry at 4619 34th Avenue Court. I'm writing today in support of banning fireworks in the city of Gig Harbor. My name is Abby Landry. I live at 4619 34th Avenue Court in Gig Harbor. It's patriotic, personal freedoms, liberty. A ban cannot be enforced. These are just words that are used to distract your thinking away from the fact that fireworks are dangerous explosives. These words deflect the fact that fireworks have and can cause wildfires, house fires, injuries, and even deaths. These words do nothing to prevent the destruction that fireworks do to property, the environment, wildlife pests, and the trauma they cause to those with PTSD. These words do nothing to make fireworks safe to use. Some will say that passing a ban is a slippery slope. Do this and they will take away our what? You fill in the blank. That is just another distraction. There is no intent whatsoever to take away people's freedoms. Are we going to stop all fireworks in Gig Harbor with a ban? Probably not. But will this stop most? It surely will, especially if you stop their sale. This is a great first step. It sends a message to the community that you want to protect us. It sends a message to the county for them to take this step. Moreover, it sends a message to the state level. So what is it that you value? Voting to ban fireworks in the city is a binary decision. You either give the right to buy and use fireworks to a small group of people under the definition of personal use and put many people in the city at a large and considerable risk of harm, or you protect every citizen in the city from harm that fireworks cause. Please do the right thing and vote yes to ban fireworks in Gig Harbor. Thank you. That is the end of our written comments.
All right, thank you so much, Josh. I see one person has their hand raised. Katrina Doan or Dawn?
Katrina Doan. Same pronunciation as your fire chief, spelled a little differently. I don't hear that name very often.
Yeah.
And then there's another Katrina on here. I don't hear that name very often either. My name is Katrina Doan, and I would like to speak to the fireworks question at hand. I want to tell you a story, and I want to offer a modification that I believe is a win-win-win situation. 29 years ago, I took in a foster daughter, and she was a gymnast, and it was a very expensive sport. And I didn't know how I was going to pay for it because I was a new teacher. And a fellow teacher said, "Hey, we run a fireworks stand to pay for Caitlin's gymnastics. Come join us." And I remember my comment, "I don't know anything about fireworks and I'm scared of them." And he said, "Just get out here. You'll figure it out." Fast forward, I ran a fireworks stand for 29 years. This past fall, I had a conversation with a local mayor here in the Puget Sound region. And he was asking me about fireworks. And I said, you know, what I'm seeing is there's some communities that are modifying their bans. A lot of communities have banned them. None of us argue about the dangers. Nobody likes the booms. Nobody likes them flying around. I sold them and I don't like those things either. But we live in an area where we have tribal land, and a lot of people don't realize that the folks on tribal land can sell fireworks regardless of a ban. And they can sell things that are banned wherever fireworks are sold. They can sell the really big things. So I talked to this mayor about this. And I mentioned the ban, and he looked at me and said, "Katrina, I was on the city council when we banned in 1995. He says, "I know it was a mistake. We've had a 25-year trial. It has not lessened fireworks because people just go to the tribal land where they're offered the worst ones." He said, "I don't want the danger. None of us want the danger, but a ban is not doing it." So we talked about a modified ban. A modified ban is allowing the current definition of what are called ground-based fireworks, different than the 1961 one that was referenced here. Ground-based fireworks are things that the saying is, if it goes up or blows up, it's not legal. It doesn't do the booms that torment pets and our veterans and the rest of us. I don't like, again, I've sold fireworks for years. I hate the booms. It does not allow anything that goes up in the air and can fly around. It allows fountains that sit on the ground and sparkle, and it allows what we call novelty items, smoke balls. If you've been at fireworks, the little turtles, the tanks, they just do cute value. And yes, it allows the sparklers that somebody talked about. By allowing those,
That's a 1 minute, you have 1 minute left.
Okay, thank you. By allowing those, what it does is it allows the city to keep control of what people are offered to buy, because most people will go to the most convenient place. Not all, you're still gonna have people go to tribal land, but by offering locations where they can only buy those things, more people will get just those because they're going to go to the neighborhood location. We're not going to get rid of them. So I would encourage you to consider a modified ban. I think it's better. Anyway, this city that I talked about really fast, their city council agreed unanimously to modify their ban. and they are going with the ground-based only in hopes that it will meet the same concerns that are expressed by the residents that wrote in. We all want the same thing, but there's a couple of paths to it. So I would encourage you to consider a modified ban allowing ground-based fireworks. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Is there anyone else in the audience that wishes to speak this evening? Yes, let's see. Randy Curley.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Randy Curley, and some of you have already, I've talked to you in previous council meetings because I am the representative for TNT Fireworks that is that represents the Gig Harbor, the city of Gig Harbor, and the whole peninsula. And I noticed some of you are smiling because you've probably heard my voice before. Here's the thing. This is something that concerns me. I just actually worked with the city of Port Orchard to on this very same thing. And we communicated, we went back and forth with all of their city council members for a good 5 months. And after we talked, everything was, they decided not to ban and not to modify. Now, that's the city of Port Orchard. My concern is that I found out about this and the industry found out about this very meeting that's on tonight at noon today. So that's why you don't have the write-ins, and that's why you don't have the people in support of fireworks, because we just found out today at noon by the King 5 News. That's a big stark difference between Port Orchard being transparent and this very meeting tonight. And in 2 weeks, you're going to have a vote on it. 2 weeks is not enough time. Nobody's reached out to TNT or any of the other businesses to even talk about the modifications that Katrina just talked about. There is different levels of fireworks. Gig Harbor has a full C market, which means you have mortars and Roman candles and everything. There's also something that's called safe and sane, and those are ground effects fountains. They can't go any higher than 15 feet in the air, and they're all localized fireworks. But you don't know about that because nobody reached out to anyone from TNT Fireworks to find out if there's anything other than what you have. That's the one thing. My second thing is what is the perceived outcome of this ban? Because your constituents definitely have an idea of what they want to see, and they're not going to get what they see. You can talk about the people who wrote in and said how this and that's all confusion and everything. The truth is that people want to buy fireworks. They will buy fireworks from the reservation if necessary. They will buy those fireworks. The perception from your constituents is that it's not going to work. My next thing is that you already have modified. You did last year. You talked about changing it to 1 day, to the 4th of July, on good faith. Yet you haven't even allowed it to go through one season of sales to see if that even helps with the sales. And you're already talking about another ban. How is that good faith from the city council to say, hey, we're not just going to bulldoze over you. You already made a modification. Bans don't work. Ask Tacoma. They've been banned for 10 years. You can look across the bay. There is more fireworks going off in the city of Tacoma than there was before. And it is enforceable. Your own fire chief and police chief know this, and they've said it to you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Randy. I see our next person is Katie Bennett.
Hi there. I'm Katie Bennett. I am the Gig Harbor High School girls soccer coach, and we run the a fireworks stand based at the Beach Basket downtown. And probably most of you have seen the girls in their inflatable costumes, waving and having fun. I just would like you to reconsider take into consideration of what Randy and also Katrina were talking about with the change of limitations, as it's our major fundraiser that we do, which allows majority of the girls to play free of cost, and gets them all their gear and everything that we need, as well as being able to be out and involved in the community. I know plenty of people that come to us and then they leave and they go and they come back saying that they went and they got bigger things from the reservation. So I know that it won't stop, but they always come to us to get the kids stuff. The little backpacks and all the Roman candle, or not Roman candles, the pagodas and the turtles and, you know, the pooping dog, all those fun little things that we offer that can be safe and that don't go up and explode in the trees. So I would just appreciate if you guys could take in consideration before voting. Thanks.
Thank you, Katie. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Okay, seeing none, I will close the public comment period and open it up for council deliberation. Councilmember Storsett.
Yes, thank you. Well, Katie, Randy, and Katrina, I want to thank you all for coming to speak to City Council. Very enlightening. We've also seen a overwhelming, I think, amount of emails. So I appreciate that as well. So when I look back at this and the restrictions that were made last year down to 1 day, I thought that was a huge jump and a big shift going from the 3 days prior to the 4th, and also New Year's Eve, which we don't see as many fireworks, at least I don't think, in living downtown. Also hearing, you know, that there's really hasn't been too many complaints filed each year. Not trying to get more calls to the fire department or police department, but it doesn't seem that it's been as much of a problem of people reporting these things in the past. I've been to numerous households, including my own driveway, doing these smaller fireworks, you know, the ones for the kids. And I look at it, you know, the 4th of July, it's our country's independence. It's a celebration, it's patriotic. It's something that I would hate to see go away. And even in our towns, a lot of people do like to stay home or come visit Gig Harbor and still do those things on 4th of July. We did talk about in the study session various different things of, you know, our options around this, you know, whether it goes to the fire marshal, do we go to Pierce County? What are the legal ramifications if we do this? We even talked about putting it on the ballot. So what I think is become a bigger issue in this is how it was brought forward. And I'm just gonna say it, I hope I'm in line here, but having council members representing the city at a city's booth at the farmer's market, signing a petition and sending out a blast email from their city account to what I think was fear-based and biased and not seeking a level playing ground and conversation around this. Excuse me. So what I would like to really, and I don't mean to shift this into two problems, and I'll gladly take advice from city administrator or mayor on this. But I think the council needs to look at how we conduct ourselves. How do we represent the city, represent ourselves? And we need this to be, you know, really well communicated across all parties. You know, I know the gentleman, Randy, mentioned from TNT that he heard about it first today. That would tell me that this wasn't well communicated to all parties. And I would urge us to get more time to get more feedback. Not to say what the, you know, the Gig Harbor Fire Department, what you guys have brought forward to us, I really appreciate that. I know there's been some extensive studies and learning about what other cities do. But the other concern that I have, and for anybody that hears this who's writing in, is city of Gig Harbor is very small. All these fireworks can go on everywhere else. They still may happen within the city because we can't control where all of these are purchased. So I would urge to go to the county on this. I don't see this as being as such an urgent matter that we don't wait and see how the 1 day goes. We haven't given that good faith. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Storsett. Councilmember Rodenberg.
Yes, I'm generally someone that really pays attention to the letters that we receive. But we all received letters to ban. We also received letters to not ban. But one letter in particular commented that he thought that the information he received via a council member was biased, only told one side of the story, and was not transparent. And he thought it was very unfair to present the case like that. And I have to agree with him. I think that I agree with Seth that a council member representing the city or two council members representing the city to go to the farmer's market and solicit no votes and solicit letters to vote no is just not proper behavior on the part of a council member. I think that Karina Doan had an excellent compromise in mind. I certainly appreciate Randy Cleary's comments about transparency. I also think that this ordinance also calls for $1,000 fine for anybody that is caught lighting off fireworks. I think maybe the chief can comment on this, but I don't think we're going to see our police officers give a $1,000 fine to a 12-year-old child that is letting off fireworks in front of his house. So I think there's a lot to be learned from the behavior that's happened. I also think that I'm curious about what the city has done besides just outright banning fireworks. What have we done to reduce the fire hazard? Have we cleaned up the underbrush? Have we got anything in place to keep homeowners to clear dead brush and those kinds of things? I think more effort could be done in that side than just outright banning fireworks. So I certainly think that there needs to be more conversation about this before any of us vote on this. So that's my comments.
Thank you, Councilmember Rodenberg. Let's see, Councilmember Likens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Markley. I'm wondering if trying to look at all sides of this issue and take in all the feedback, if Police Chief Busey and or Fire Director Doan could talk about this compromise that was brought up of the ground fireworks versus the projectiles. From my first thought is that might be difficult to enforce for the officers, but I'd like to hear their thoughts if they wouldn't mind sharing them, just to understand, is that something that they think would be a good idea?
I'll go first and then defer to Chief Doan for the technical fire aspects of things. But this is clearly a policy decision and one that I don't want to sway either way. Sure. I'd mentioned before that from an enforcement standpoint, we do get very few complaints, especially on the 4th of July itself. Historically, I think that number averages around 4. The fire chief and I had a very nice conversation, oddly, during the parade as we walked together. And he was surprised to learn that we would respond to all of those complaints, and we have consistently. Now, whether we can solve them all or not is a different story. And you're right, distinguishing between what we used to call safe and sane or ground-based versus the aerials might be a little bit tricky. I do also want to echo what I said a couple of weeks ago about the heightened expectation about enforcement if there is an outright ban. I think that we would see a spike in complaints that come in. Again, we would respond to all of them and involve the fire department if there was serious danger present. But I think it would be unfair if I commented on the policy aspect of it. I can certainly speak to the enforcement side of it. And with that, I'll hand it off to Chief Doan.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, when it comes to the enforcement side, we don't have any authority to enforce, so we would not be responding to enforce. I talked to Chief Busey and I had a good conversation about it, and I would leave that to him to handle the enforcement because we don't have that authority.
Great. Okay. Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, Councilmember Likens. Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I just want to echo my support for the ban. I think a modification would be particularly difficult to enforce. I mean, if it flies, it's banned or whatever the comment was. I think it gets difficult. So we've got enough issues going on. I understand we don't get many complaints, but who's going to complain over something that's currently legal? That's probably why we don't get many complaints. If I call Chief Dunn, I say people are launching mortars off he'll say, well, or if Chief Busey, people are launching mortars off or bottle rockets or something else. Well, it's legal, so there's nothing I can do about it. So why the heck call? I think there's a lot more than the fire issues here. I know that there's been talk about having people clear brush. I'm not sure if that's one of the bigger issues. One of the bigger issues that we're talking about is bottle rockets being launched into the canopy of tall trees, 50 feet or more. That's not about something that somebody in their backyard can clear unless you want to cut all the trees down. Then we don't have a fire hazard, do we? I believe that another commenter tonight mentioned a pretty good thing, which I hadn't even thought about, is all the heavy metal released by all these smoke generating fireworks. That's just not healthy. I understand this is an issue of what is traditional, what is patriotic. We're certainly not banning the 4th of July. We're certainly not banning celebration of the 4th of July. What I would like to see, and I think some of us talked about that, is some large event downtown that would bring everybody together so we can celebrate the 4th of July. I think that would be amazing. I think that's be far better for the environment, and it gets people with each other. So we're not banning 4th of July. We're not banning you having a party. We're just trying to ban something that's eventually going to be a real problem for Gig Harbor as far as health and as far as potential fire risk. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Henderson. Councilmember Wook.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. You know, the fire department has a saying, if it is predictable, it is preventable. And we have heard and we know the facts of what happens in fireworks in other parts of Washington State and in other parts of the country. And the fact that it hasn't happened in Gig Harbor yet, well, that could be just a fluke. But I don't think that we should wait until we do have a disaster to say, well, gee, we should have banned fireworks. We have heard from our citizens. As a matter of fact, we had 115 emails from people saying, please ban fireworks. It's not safe in this community. We had 8 emails saying, no, we want to keep the fireworks. You know, I think it's time to listen to our community and do our best to keep Gig Harbor a community that is safe and healthy and functions. When you have a fire, it destroys businesses, it destroys homes, it destroys the environment. Let's not go there. Let's just not go there. And let's not put any of our citizens in the hospital. Even one person is too many. So I will support this in 2 weeks. And thank you for listening tonight.
Thank you, Councilmember Wook. Any other council comments this evening? Okay, seeing none, this will return back to you on June 27th for a second reading. And I appreciate all the people that called in and wrote in and gave public comment on this issue. Thank you so much for expressing your opinions, your concerns, and the questions that you have. Please reach out to us if you have additional questions. You can always call the city main line and ask for our Fire Marshal, Paul Rice, or reach out to your council members individually. All of our contact information is on our city's website. So please feel free to reach out to us if you have additional thoughts, questions, concerns, and then be sure to tune in on June 27th. All right, we will move on to our next item of business, our last new business item. Ordinance 1489, amending Chapter 8.28 of the Gig Harbor Municipal Code to reflect civil penalty for exceeding moorage time limits at Jerisich Dock. There is no suggested motion for this, as well as this is a first reading. We'll return for a second reading on June 27th. And this report will come from our police chief, Kelly Busey.
And good evening again, Mayor and Council. And thank you, Mayor, for basically giving most of the presentation. This is the simplest item that you'll face. First reading of Ordinance 1489, basically correcting or repairing an omission when we revised the moorage code for Jerisich Dock several years ago. Within that original ordinance, we identified the violations for overtime moorage or mooring in a restricted area, things like that. And we prescribed the penalties for all except for the violation of the mooring time limit. So the purpose of 1489 here is to add in the prescribed penalty for exceeding the mooring limit of more than 3 overnight periods in any 10-day period without prior authorization.
Okay, are there any clarifying questions from council for Chief Busey? Yes, Councilmember Henderson.
Thank you, Mayor. Not being a boat owner, is the $100 fine more expensive than not paying the mortgage fee?
Yes, yes, it is, depending on the size of the boat, of course, but in almost every instance I'm aware of, it would be.
Okay, so there probably wouldn't be a case where somebody would say it's cheaper to pay the fine than to actually pay the mortgage fee. That would be a pretty rare case.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Rodenberg.
Yeah, I guess I have a question. Given that this is kind of a simple issue, is it really necessary that we would have to go to a second reading? Or is it possible that we could pass this on the first reading? Given that all the research has already been done and it's more of a housekeeping thing than anything else?
I will defer to City Clerk Stecker to answer that. I don't see a problem with it personally, but what do you think, City Clerk?
Yes, council can pass this on first reading as long as there's a supermajority of council in support of the ordinance.
Okay, so Councilmember Rodenberg.
I guess after public comment, then I will make a motion to pass this on first reading. Thank you.
Okay. Any other clarifying questions from council? Okay, seeing none, I will open the public comment. Josh, were there any written public comments submitted for this item?
There are no written comments for this item.
Okay. Is there anyone from the audience that wishes to speak on this item tonight? Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public comment. Councilmember Rodenberg.
Yes, I moved that ordinance 1489, amending chapter 8.28 of the Gig Harbor Municipal Code to reflect civil penalty for exceeding mortgage time limits at Jerry's Park is passed.
Second.
Okay, the motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstain? Okay, motion passes 7-0 on first reading. Thank you, council. Okay, we will now move into council reports and comments. Councilmember Wood.
Congratulations to the wastewater treatment plant. Is Jeff still on here? Sorry, Director Langham.
Yeah.
That's another award for our wastewater treatment plant. What a wonderful continuation this is. And let's remember that it's our wastewater treatment plant that keeps the city running, keeps our citizens healthy, keeps the environment healthy. And Director Langham, you guys are doing a great job. Thank you. And thanks to everybody in the wastewater treatment plant.
Well, thank you. I want to note the connection between the fact that 15 out of the last 17 years, we've received this Outstanding Performance Award. And by no coincidence has Daryl Winans been here for pretty much that same amount of time. So find that correlation to be pretty convincing.
And we wish him well, but he will be greatly missed in the city.
Yes, he will.
Yes, he will. Thank you. Councilmember Barber.
Thank you. I want to talk tonight a little bit about last week's Pride celebration. And I want to begin by thanking Councilmember Likens for her effort to shepherd the Pride resolution through council and also instigating our first celebration. We had over 80, we think, people at last Friday's event, which was an amazing gathering of people in our community who previously felt unseen. And in talking to people ahead of the event and during the event on Friday, Councilmember Likens and I recognized a common theme and realized really that we had struck a nerve with people. I wish that more of you had been able to attend because I think that you would have been incredibly moved by the event. There was a mom and her daughter who had just moved from Arizona 3 days before and were so thrilled to be welcomed to the community. There were numerous other people who just almost couldn't speak and said things like, "This is huge, we feel seen." It was really a wonderful event. But we realized that there's a further need for all of us to come together as one And we were looking for a way to unify and become one community that really recognizes all the people who live here equally. And so in talking with Councilmember Likens, she mentioned a program in Everett, and we kind of piggybacked on that idea for today's suggestion. And as background, the Everett mayor directed her city staff to create a, quote, connected and engaged community built on trust, inclusion, and equity. Something that we've been talking about in our strategic planning and other discussions as well. So One Everett was born in 2018 to reflect that oneness during the pandemic when many people felt disconnected. It's become a thread that ties the city's people together through things as simple as email signatures, posters in offices, and social media campaigns. And I'm suggesting that we do the same thing here in Gig Harbor, but with a twist. And I'm going to hopefully share my screen for a moment and show you a logo, maybe not, that we created that could work. Hopefully you can see that. Can you see it?
Yes, we can see.
Okay, good. That we created as an example of this idea. And basically our idea is that we are one Gig Harbor. Everyone is welcome in Gig Harbor. We're a community of individuals who trust and embrace each other. And together we can be a stronger community. And together we can be one Gig Harbor. And the effort that we're envisioning can become the cornerstone for a program that encompasses the idea that all are welcome here, regardless of your belief, how long you've lived here, what you do, and the list goes on and on. It also addresses 4 of the 5 goals of this strategic plan. And I am proposing that we create a framework around this program that encourages everyone to display the logo, showing their support for the program once they agree to be welcoming and inclusive. And we can also use the tagline and messaging in a host of other programs, including employee activities and programs, by celebrating in small or large ways a variety of month or day-long celebrations. I'm not suggesting anything that takes a lot of staff time or funds. In fact, the city of Everett has no budget for this program. And the communications team and also their arts commission work on it as part of their work day. But I'm suggesting something that is a lovely way for us to come together as a community. And I've done some work on a plan already. And if everyone is interested in pursuing the concept, I can work with staff to develop the idea further. But I'm asking you tonight to please join me in helping us all to become one Gig Harbor.
Thank you, Mary.
I'm trying to unshare my screen.
Any other comments or council reports? Councilmember Denson.
Well, I was going to thank Councilmember Barber and Councilmember Likens for putting on that wonderful event, and because we did have brand new residents there, and that was really cool to see. We also had some young people, and it was really meaningful to everybody who came. It was wonderful. So thanks to you both. And then on the negative side, unrelated to that, is campaign signs, which I always complain about. And they're starting to pop up all over the place, and some are in appropriate spots and some are not in appropriate spots. And I just was wondering what the status was of our code enforcer, and whether there was going to be some additional time allocated to policing those, because for the people that are following the rules, it's they feel like suckers. Right? It's a little frustrating.
Thank you, Robin. Yes, Katrina. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Denson, the staff did work overtime this weekend, Saturday morning, and picked up a lot of signs. So you should have seen a significant difference between Friday and Saturday. However, we have noted that after staff were out on Saturday, additional people went out and placed signs again. Yeah. So as with most political seasons, this will be a something that we will work on ongoing, and hopefully get that under control.
Thank you, Katrina. Councilmember Likens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor Markley. I just want to thank Councilmember Barber for bringing up the 1 Gig Harbor. It was an idea we just kind of were talking casually in discussion, and she has taken the energy and put lots of thoughts and communicated with other cities and looked at what's available in the Association of Washington Cities. And I just appreciate her heart and her energy. And I would definitely support this program. I heard from people when I campaigned that they wanted people to get along, to bring people together. And I think this could be a really great way to tap into that energy. So thanks, Mary, for bringing that up. Thanks.
Thank you, Councilmember Likens. Any other council comments? Okay, seeing none. Thank you, council, for all of those comments and ideas. And I guess, you know, if you're looking for specific feedback, I would say maybe send an email to us, Interim City Administrator Katrina Knudsen, for OPMA reasons. Let her know if you're supportive and if you would like to see that on a study session coming forward. So that's probably the best way to approach that. Announcement of upcoming meetings. Our agenda planning schedule is attached to this agenda, as well as now we add our 2-year strategic plan as well. So you can find that online on our website attached to this agenda. And so now we will now go into executive session for 20 minutes to discuss the acquisition of real estate per RCW 42.30.110B, and to evaluate the qualifications of an applicant for public employment per RCW 42.30.110 parentheses 1 parentheses G, and no action will be taken following the executive session. So please log out of this meeting, council members and staff that are invited, and log into the executive session. We will return approximately 7:23, and I will extend if necessary. Good evening. We have returned from executive session. It is 7:25 p.m. and I am pleased to announce that my intention is to appoint Interim City Administrator Katrina Knudsen to be our permanent city administrator, and I will be bringing a contract before council on the June 27th meeting. So I am very excited, and I will look forward to all of your comments at that time. And thank you for all of your cheering, council.
Yes.
And with that, if there is nothing else for the good of the order, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 Meeting adjourned. Good evening, everyone. Have a great night.
Thank
You
you.
too.
Good night.